video is sponsored by Squarespace. It is that time of year. We are at the end of 2023, and we are going to be looking back at the best drawing tech that I had the opportunity to review this year. So let's get to it. Hello, my name is Brad, and I review tech for creative professionals, and this is it. This is the apex of the year where I take everything that I have reviewed over the course of the entire year, and I tell you my 10 favorite things that I've reviewed. Now, there are a couple different ways that I've judged this. One is just pure quality. What is the best thing I've used? But there are some other things that come into, that equation. For example, what is the price of that thing? It may be a really, really amazing product, but if it is priced out of most people's range, it might go down a little bit in this category. The price can also push it the other way. For example, it might not be the best thing in the world, but it's delivering tremendous value at that price. So that's another thing that I considered. And we have products that are like Windows computers and tablets. We have Android tablets. I've got like drawing tablets. I don't have any iPads because for the first time in like a decade, there hasn't been a single iPad released this year. So we're going to go from 10 down to 1. So let's just start with it. Number 10. I've got the Huion Canvas Studio 24. Now this was released way back at the beginning of the year, and this is an all-in-one computer that's also a drawing tablet. Now, obviously, that's what Huion does. That's their specialty. So think of this as like an iMac, but you can draw on it, and it runs Windows. That's a pretty important point to make there, huh? Now, this is a good size, 24. That means 24 inches, corner to corner. It is a big screen. It is a laminated screen. It looks really good. Inside, you have an Intel i7 processor. You have 32 gigabytes of RAM. You got a terabyte of storage. It's running Windows 11. It's using their Pentec 3, which is it's really nice to draw on. There's also an NVIDIA GeForce in this, a GTX 1650. It's nice to have a standalone graphics card and something like this. Now this is a 2.5K display. That's 2560 pixels by 1440 pixels. You'll often hear this referred to as 1440p resolution. This is a great compromise because it's obviously not a full 4K display. That's a lot of pixels. Those things look fantastic. But if this is 24 inches and it's full HD, 1920 by 1080, I don't think that's enough. You start to see the pixels at this size. They get kind of blurry. They don't look great. So I think this is a nice compromise. This is also a touchscreen. I probably already mentioned that, but it's worth throwing in here anyway. Overall, it's a very, very good product. Now, it is a little bit pricey. I mean, you're paying for a lot of stuff here. So it's coming out at $2,500, which might be the most expensive thing that Huion has ever made. But it's one of the better products they've ever made. The downside here, of course, is that if you need a more powerful computer, or if the screen's still working 3 or 4 years from now when you need to upgrade your computer, you're kind of out of luck. This doesn't work as a separate screen. Whereas if you just buy like a standalone large size Huion, you're going to be able to use that even after you upgrade your computer. So that's something worth considering. But overall, I think it was a very good product from Huion. Next on the list is the Books Note Air 3C. Now, why did this make the list? Because this is a quirky product. This is an e-ink display. Not only that, but it is a color e-ink display. And this probably isn't for most people. If you're watching this, I probably am not going to recommend it for you. But I will say this. Since it is an e-ink display, it's kind of limited by what you can do with the digital art tools available to you, but it does run Android, so you could go out there and get Clip Studio Paint for it. The Notes app here is better than what you might find on the Remarkable 2 or what you might find on the Kindle Scribe, which are two of the competing tablets. And I think that's why it makes the list, is because it's my favorite e-ink reader that I've had the opportunity to draw on. It's not saying a lot, and again, you are very limited because it's got a very low refresh rate. But anyway, there's better Android tablets on this list, but if you are looking for an e-ink display, this is the best one I've used. Number 8, let's take a look at the Lenovo YogaBook 9i. Now, this is a very special computer because basically what it is it's a laptop, but instead of a keyboard on the bottom half of your laptop, you have a second screen. And of course, it also has a pen that it comes with, so you can draw on either screen. It also has this little keyboard. This keyboard, if you snap it on top of that bottom screen there, it becomes just like a standard laptop. Basically, this made the list because I think it's a cool form factor. Now, it does come in at a pretty steep price. It's $2,000. You're really paying for the novelty. It's not the most powerful computer in the world. It gets the job done. I would also say that if you're looking at something like purely for drawing, even though this is neat, the pen is kind of meh. The pen has some wobble to it. It's not fantastic. So it's not like a super great art tool, but I really loved the form factor. I loved the creativity on display here, and it reminded me of another thing that I tested, which was there was an HP foldable thing. What was that called? I'm gonna look it up here. The HP Spectre Fold. That thing was amazing too. Why didn't that make the list? Because that is $5,000, and as cool as folding screens are, I don't think anybody should pay $5,000 for that particular computer. But if you like the idea and you like the form factor and you like the portability idea of it, the Lenovo Book is not a bad choice. Next up on our list is the Surface Laptop Studio 2. Now this does come in at number 7. It is a little bit lower than it came in a few years ago. I think the first one came out maybe 3 years ago, and it scored very highly on my end of the year list because it was I think it was my favorite Windows laptop to draw on. And what makes it special is the screen. The hinge on the back of the screen allows you to fold it out and use it in this kind of like drawing mode. It's super cool, and it's probably my favorite Windows laptop form factor out there. It also uses the Surface Slim Pen 2, which is a huge upgrade over the old Surface pens, the old MPP, Microsoft Pen Protocol pens, that seem to be packed in pretty much a lot of drawing laptops. Not a fan of those. Those have a waddle wobble. That Slim Pen 2, though, has removed a lot of that wobble. Why did this only come in at number 7? I think the novelty is worn off. Basically, all they've done here is they've added an extra USB port and bumped up the specs a little bit, which is fine. That's totally fine. We don't need a revolution every few years, but it's not as special. It's not as flashy. It's just not as cool of a product. It's just a nice spec bump. It's also very expensive, so that's worth taking into account. Number 6, let's take a look at the Wacom Cintiq Pro 17. What? Why is it so low? This is one of the best products I've reviewed this year. This was a dream to draw on. It is a beautiful screen. They've taken the shortcut keys and they've put them along the back, and they have these molded video game-like controller things along the back so your hand can rest there while you're drawing, and you have the shortcut keys right there. It's awesome. There's also a stand that they sent over for me to use, and it allows you to twist it around and pull it closer to you. The stand is really nice because it's just fantastic. It's so well designed. Why is it only number 6? It's $2,500 without the stand. And even though I have nothing to say bad about the product itself, the price is very, very high. Now, one of the things that I did cover in my review is why the price is high. What Wacom has decided to do is just be the highest of the high end here. There are people who work in the animation industry, photographers who need ultra high res, super accurate colors, or you need color spaces that they can replicate across devices. Wacom wanted to be able to provide those specs, and unfortunately, those kind of specs, the kind of screen that can pull off those color ranges, cost a lot more, even though I personally, and most of you out there, will never benefit from those features. They wanted to get those in their highest end product. But that's why this product is lower on my list. Wacom still sells their Wacom Cintiq Pro 16, which is the older version of this. They sell it for $1,000 less. So if you want a really nice Wacom tablet in this price range, or actually it's less than this price range, in this size range, I would look at that. It's $1,500, which is still a pretty steep price, but you're getting that Wacom quality, you're getting a very nice product. This is so very specific to a certain level of professional that it's just overkill for most illustrators. I want to shout out today's sponsor, Squarespace. If you want to see a cool Squarespace site in action, check out bradsartschool.com. That's my site. It's built entirely on Squarespace, so I can host my portfolio, my online courses, my buyer's guide, guide where I rank my favorite drawing tech. With the Fluid Engine, Squarespace gives you a next-generation website design system. It's never been easier for anyone to unlock incredible creativity. Starting with a best-in-class website template, you can customize every detail and reimagine with their drag-and-drop technology on mobile and on desktop. Speaking of those custom templates, it is a great place to start your website design. They've got all these categories that you can surf through and pick out the one that best fits your content and your unique needs. Make your idea, your brand, your business stand out online on any device. With their new asset library, you're able to manage all your files from one central hub and use them across the entire Squarespace platform. Head over to squarespace.com for a free trial. When you're ready to get started, go to squarespace.com/BradColbo to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. Next up on our list is the SenseLab Pen Display 24. Now, this is just a pen display. Honestly, there's nothing super special about this display, but SenseLabs is really trying to kind of come into the market and fill some of the space that Wacom used to occupy. They want to be a step above Huion, maybe from like a quality standpoint, but also a step or two below Wacom in price. They want to fit that spot. And this pen display starts a little under $2,000. Now, this is a 24-inch pen display. This is very large. This has a really good color range. This coming in at 4K. There's a tilt stand included. There's also like this cool little shortcut key remote that has like OLED buttons that are programmable on there. That's included. It comes with this really neat pen holder. So you've got two pens in there. You've got like a slim pen and like a thicker pen. The thicker pen has 3 buttons on it. It also has an eraser on it. The drivers are really, really good. They've done a great job getting those like up and running and doing some good stuff there. And this is their very first pen display. I think they've done a good job. They've included a lot of bells and whistles. So if you're kind of used to using a Wacom or want something that is very close to Wacom in quality, but don't want to pay like those huge Wacom prices, this might be one worth looking at. I think the pen is a little bit of a step down. I think the whatever coating they might be using on their screen is adding a little bit too much distance between the pen tip and the sensors underneath it, and that's adding a little bit of a wobble. That's my hunch. Point is, there's a little bit of a wobble to the pen. You're going to have to use some smoothing on there. Not horrible, but not quite where Wacom stuff is right now, even though many of the other bells and whistles there are. Next on our list is the XP Pen Artist Pro 16 Gen 2. Now, I really love me a nice 16-inch tablet. They also came up with a pen display that was very, very similar to this in a 14-inch form factor. That might be worth checking out because you're going to cut a few $100s off if you go with that one. Both of these are really, really nice. I think they're delivering a lot of features at a decent price, a little bit higher than some of their low-end stuff, but you get some nice features, some nice extras included. This actually reminds me a lot of what SenseLabs is doing. You've got this really nice pen case where they hold the nibs and the pen and all that stuff. It comes with a little shortcut remote. It's not like a high-end one. It's kind of cheapy, but it gets the job done. All you need are buttons to press for shortcuts, right? It's got fold-out feet along the back, so you can just set it up at a nice drawing angle without sticking a stand on it. It's relatively portable. I think the 14 is probably a little bit more portable if you want to put it in a laptop bag or something like that. But this is something that does run on just one USB Type-C cord if you have the right kind of port in your laptop. Overall, nothing really revolutionary, just a really nice drawing tablet at a really nice price. Now, number 3, we're taking a look at the Huion Canvas Studio 16. Now, at the beginning of the list, we had a look at the Canvas Studio 24, and I think that's nice, but that is a desktop computer. It is huge, it is heavy, it is meant to be plugged into a wall, it is plugged into a wall. This is like, what if we made a Surface Pro, but it was a drawing tablet instead, and it used Huion's pen? What's that, Wacom already did that? Okay, so maybe they just copied the Wacom Mobile Studio, but the Wacom Mobile Studio hasn't been updated in ages and has ancient hardware and still costs a fortune, whereas this, it still actually costs a lot of money, but it's really, really nice. $1,700, but you're getting a fully featured portable PC here. The size is perfect. There's a kickstand, so you can get it at a nice angle. You can prop it up if you just want to look at it and, use it as a monitor. Maybe you get a Bluetooth keyboard to go along with it. You could also get it on your lap or on the desk when you draw on it. The colors look good. The viewing angles look good. Overall, I think the screen is solid. This is another one of those 1440p displays. It's 2,560 pixels by 1440 pixels. This is the first time Huion has ever done like a mobile product like this, and I think they did a very, very good job with it. I did run into a problem where I had the Windows was not activated on this for me, so I had to kind of go through a rigmarole to get that running. But other than that, I thought it was, a solid product, and one of the better products I've used this year. Was something I just enjoyed drawing on and taking with me around the house to use. So number 2, here we are. We're getting near the top. What do we have? The Galaxy Tab S9. Now, not just the S9, but the S9 Plus and the S9 Ultra. I tested the Ultra, which is very, very big. Tends to be kind of expensive, but these are the best Android tablets out there, at least for drawing. And I'd say for other things too. They're very high end. They include really nice OLED displays, really nice internals. They have S Pens included. I love drawing with the S Pen. This also came out around the time that Clip Studio Paint came out with their new Simple mode, where they've stripped out a lot of the features, and it's just really fun to draw on. So when the Ultra came out and I was using this new Clip Studio mode, I was just jamming, and it became one of my favorite things to draw on this entire year. It was just fun and fast and beautiful. Amazing hardware, Apple level quality, or maybe Apple is Samsung level quality, depending on your worldview. Either way, phenomenal. Just a phenomenal product for the price. So now, what would be number 1? Before we get there, I do want to talk about some of the things that didn't make the list this year. Wacom released several products that aren't on this list, and we're talking about the Wacom One line. There is a 12-inch screen tablet, there is a 13-inch screen tablet with touch, and there are 2, a small and a medium, just normal drawing tablets, graphics tablets. And these use the same technology that you find in the Samsung Galaxy, S Pen, which is fine. That's Wacom's technology. Here, though, the way it was implemented was a little bit weird. There's a channel, 7 Pens, that has done some analysis of this, and I found it a little bit when I was drawing. I was like, it just feels like the pressure curve's off, and he's done a deeper dive. And however they've implemented it here just isn't that good, which is surprising. These are also Wacom's budget line of products, so they're not designed to have any of the bells and whistles, and they strip out a lot of the features. And it felt like for the price, you're just getting a better product if you go with XP Pen or Huion at that price point. In fact, with the 13-inch touch tablet, you could go with I think you could almost get like the 16-inch tablet that XP Pen released I mentioned before. It doesn't have touch, but it is bigger. The screen looks a lot better, so when they started to cut corners, I think they cut a few too many corners for the price that they were trying to come in at. So they didn't make the list. Other things that didn't make the list, there was a slew of Android tablets that I covered this year. There was the Google Pixel tablet, which really wasn't, even though you could get a pen for it, it really wasn't a drawing tablet. There were 2 others, the Xiaomi Pad 6 and the OnePlus Pad. Both of those were really good Android tablets coming in at a really good price. They had nice screens, they performed well, but at the end of the day, the pens were just meh. They just didn't stand up to what Samsung is doing with their S Pen that's using Wacom's technology. These were USI styluses, universal something or other styluses. And unfortunately, there's just too much wobble. They're not accurate enough. It just doesn't cut it for illustration. If you're taking notes, that sort of thing, great tablets. Illustration, only so-so. And the last thing that didn't make this list was the Asus ProArt pen display, which I really liked in some ways, but isn't quite ready for prime time. They're also using the Wacom Sense Pen, the same one that the S Pen uses, the same one that those new Wacom One displays use. But unfortunately, the one that packs in just doesn't really feel good on the screen. What a lot of pens displays do is they'll add like a little bit of a matte texture to the screen, gives it a little bit of tooth, and gives you a lot more control. They added a matte texture to the screen, but they added a really, really, really smooth matte texture. So you get the dulled colors without getting any of the extra drawing control. So that was a bummer. Also, you can't go in there and control a lot of the settings that you're used to on, standard drawing tablets, like, hey, what screen am I going to focus in on, and that sort of thing. So even though you had a touch screen and it was 4K and it looked great and it was super portable and they did a lot of things right, you could really tell that this was Asus's first foray in kind of to the art and pen display world in this way, and I really hope they make another one and they just keep improving on it, because I think they've got something special here. It's just not quite there yet. So with that out of the way, let's go to number 1. Number 1 may surprise some of you. It is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9. FE, which stands for Fan Edition. What? Now, I did mention at the beginning that price is a factor here. Technically, the Galaxy Tab S9, S9 Ultra are better products than this. Yes. However, what Samsung has done with the FE is they've gone in and they've cut out some of the features. They've cut out the OLED screen, but the screen they use instead, the LED, still looks really, really good. The processor isn't as fast, but you're not going to notice that in any of the drawing apps you're using. You might if you're gaming or doing video production, but not for drawing apps. They took out some of those extra features that maybe I never use, but some people do, a lot of pros do, but I didn't really miss. And what we ended up with was what I feel is a really, really good tablet at a really, really good price. The Galaxy Tab S6 Lite, really nice, really, really cheap. I mean, if you could get it for like $200, $250, that's a steal. However, it's going to get slowed down over time. A year, 2 years, 3 years from now, you're going to notice that lag. This is going to last a lot longer. The screen on this just looks better. All of those little things that just make it a better product are there. And I think for most illustrators who want a seriously good Android tablet, but maybe don't want to pay those higher prices for those high-end Galaxy tabs because you don't need all those features, this nails that sweet spot. And I think this has been a hole in Samsung's lineup for a while. They had an FE edition for the S8, or no, it was the S7, a few years back, and that wasn't bad, but it came in at a larger size. Now with this FE, you can get it at that smaller 11-inch, or you can get it at that larger plus size, which is kind of nice, and I think that price point is just perfect for the amount of quality that they're providing. So that was 2023. What a year. I reviewed so many Android tablets. I reviewed just a lot of different stuff. What was your favorite product of the year? Will we see some iPads next year? There was nothing Apple on this list this year. That's weird. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.